KWT slaying.
Salama family, Salama, how y'all doing today? We have with us Brother Eric and his wife Nicole. We're going to be talking about repatriating back to Africa. I believe that they're planning on going to the Gambia. Eric and Nicole, how y'all doing today?
We're doing great. How are you?
I'm blessed. Be honest with you, you know, I'm just, like I said in the previous interview, I feel like the kid who's left in the orphanage and everybody else getting adopted and leaving. You know, that's what I feel like. So tell us about yourself. First, let's start with who you are, where you're from, and, you know, what drove you to your desire to go to the continent.
Okay. Well, my name is Nicole. I'm originally from Pennsylvania, but we're here now in the Dallas area, Dallas, Texas. Been here for the last 13 years. And so we are just a couple. We were heavily involved in ministry at one point of our lives, and as pastors, youth pastors. And, you know, the Most High just began to open up our eyes to several different things. We started our journey back in 2000. Well, for him, it's been quite a longer time, and he'll tell you about that. But for me, I started in maybe around 2014, 2015, and been on the journey ever since up until this point. And I'll let Eric talk about who he is.
Yeah, just regular guy. You know, I'm originally from Birmingham, Alabama. I've had an opportunity to travel a lot, and I've been in ministry for 20-something years. And when I say in ministry, I mean actually physically ministering and teaching the word, you know, and helping people and so forth. And then we actually founded our own church about 10 years ago.
So when did you all wake up to being Israelites?
Well, I began my journey a little earlier than my wife. It was kind of like the Most High was really dealing with us on two different aspects, and I'll let her explain deeper with her. But I have a close friend of the families, and, you know, I might as well say she's my family, her and her son. And, you know, we talk all the time. I don't have many people that I can really talk to on a deep level because we're deep thinkers and so forth. And so, make a long story short, they called me up one day and said, Eric, you know, this is when we actually first got to Dallas. So this was about 13, 14 years ago. And she said, there's something very important that I have to share with you. And so I said, okay, well, share it with me. She said, no, we have to share this with you face to face. So they actually got on the plane and flew out here. And I don't know whether you remember this, but, you know, they came and spent 3 days taking me through Deuteronomy 28 and a plethora of other scriptures and so forth. And it was just amazing because Most High had already been dealing with me on it, but not at that level, you know. So that's kind of how I began my journey in terms of waking up. Of course, you know, it happened at the same time in terms of them sharing with us, because they shared with both of us at the same time.
But I was at a place where I just could not
She was just stuck in religion.
I was stuck in straight religion. And it was difficult for me to accept all of what we had heard at the time, because I just, the doctrine that we've been brought up with and everything that, we've been taught growing up. I've always been in church, so I know about ministry, I know about church, I know about all of those different things, and it was just hard for me to accept it. In fact, I even remember when we first met, one of the things that he said to me was, "I believe I'm in the bloodline of Jesus." That was one of the things he said. And I looked at him like, what is this dude talking about? But as
now mind you, not to cut you off, but that was before this. I wasn't even in Texas at that time, but I just felt that, and that's why I said the Most High was dealing with me on at an early time. But go ahead.
But when we both came in, when I came around, one of the things that drew me to that is, one time I was in prayer and I was in worship, and I asked the Father, I said, what is it? I want to do it the right way. I don't want to do it because this is what I've grown up to know, or, I really, really love you. And I said, so what is it? What is it that, tell me how to really love you? And the first thing that, he dropped in my spirit was Deuteronomy: if you love me, keep my commandments. And from there, I wanted to know exactly what all of that meant. And I started, going back to Deuteronomy. I started going back to Exodus. I started going back to all of it. And I've always been drawn to the Old Testament. So that wasn't nothing new for me. But to really actually start studying it was when I became, when my spirit man was open to receive what he was trying to tell me at that time. And then from there, it's just, I said, I love him this much. So if this is what it takes, then I'm going to keep his commandments. I'm going to follow the statutes, the commandments, the laws, and all those. And that's when I just began the journey with that.
Isn't it interesting that, when you're in modern Christianity, they teach you don't go to the Old Testament? Did they teach you all that? Because I almost never went to the Old Testament unless they had to go improve tithing.
Yeah.
I think for me, the only time they ever went to the Old Testament was when they were speaking and preaching on, well-known stories like Noah's Ark, and just different things of that nature, but never really making the connections that would bring us to this kind of level of understanding.
So during this journey and your awakening to being Israel, at what point did it become real to you, where you're like, well, I know we're Israelites, because there's that moment you're searching and you're researching, you're like, okay, I think there's something here. But then it's like, yep, we're the people. When did that happen?
Well, for me, I've always believed that, and I always start with myself, because her and I, we didn't have a conflict, but it was just we were not on the same page as it relates to the understanding, and I think it's particular because my wife is extremely careful when it comes to following the Most High, and she needs to hear it for herself. She needs to understand it for herself. She's never been a person that will, even under that kind of teaching, where she would just take what the pastor said or take what the minister said. She would actually have to study it herself to understand,
She sounds a lot like me.
Yeah. Actually, I'm a lot like that as well, but I'm different in that I believe that if the truth is the truth can be proven not just by the Bible. It can be proven by history. It can be proven by documentation. It can be proven by science. It can be proven in all kinds of different ways. So I've always been one to open up my mind to look to confirm what I believe, not just by the Bible. Because if it's true, then truth can, as I said previously, be proven, in the Bible and actually outside of the Bible.
Well, for me, when he came into the knowledge, I think he went through the whole emotional part of it. Right. He was sad, he was angry, he went through that whole stage. And I remember at one point he was so excited that he came to church. And at this time we had several members, people that were coming to our ministry. And he started sharing this. We started having a Sabbath service, and he started sharing these things with the people. And, they were just like me, like, oh no, I think he's going into something else.
Well, one thing that I want to say also is that you know, something that I've taught whenever I've had people that look to me as a thought leader, I've always taught them never judge a person by a mistake, but judge them by a track record. You know, what pattern have you created in your life?
Right.
You know, and then a lot of times that's more forgiving for a person making one mistake when they have this long track record of being a certain way. So I had already established a track record of, you know, dividing the word in such a way where, you know, people could see it. I made it plain.
Mhm.
You know, I studied to show myself approved. So I was not under uh, what most people think, you know, the typical pastor was, because
Right.
my teaching has always been radical. It's always been radical. But this here, when I found out, I became almost militant, you know. And and when I say militant, um, not militant from a standpoint where you couldn't feel love coming from my teaching, but just in your face, no sugarcoating, no, let me prepare the people. They have to grow to this level.
Right, right.
It wasn't any of that. I
Mhm.
just started.
And so the people over in Israel was one of the main things, because that kind of would disturb people, because they were thinking, well, that's Israel over there. That's the real Jews over there. And he taught on something like that, and they just was not having it.
Well, what they did was one elder in the ministry, who was well respected in the ministry. He was much older than me and very well studied. Sat me down, took me in the office one day, and sat me down and said, "I believe that you know, you're getting off track." And I said, "What do you mean?" He said, "Well, there's something that's called replacement theology. You know, and the whole thing about replacement theology is what he was trying to make me believe was replacement theology was the idea that all of these people were trying to make themselves the real people of the Bible, you know, but they're not. They was trying to replace themselves with the real people of the Bible." And I was just sharing with him. I said, "No, Revelations 3:9, Revelations 2:9.
Mhm.
You know, there are some that will call themselves Jews but are liars and are of the synagogue of Satan." You know, and you know, it made perfect sense to me.
Mhm.
And I thought I was explaining it to a degree,
Mhm.
but when you've been so indoctrinated, the hardest thing to change is the mindset.
Yes.
Yeah, I think if you know, like for me, you know, I have pastors all in my family, right?
Mhm.
And you know, I think the difference for me is I always question everything, right? Because I don't follow man. I follow Christ. I don't want to be, you know, part of a cult, you know, all those type things. So I'm not easy to get to, right? So you know, just like I had to bring out some stuff recently about some cults. You know, I'm gonna check it out. I'm gonna check you out. I'm gonna do these things, right? Because, you know, when like Eric said, you know, if you love truth, you know, truth is gonna validate itself. You can prove it, you know. You don't have to twist it and make it fit.
Right.
And you know, when you start looking at the history of it, and then you really start reading the Bible the way it is truly translated, it's all there.
Yeah,
You know,
I'll tell you what, TL, what clicked for me also, and what made me move forward even without my wife fully understanding, because in the traditional church setting, that's what people look at. They're not listening to the pastor as much as they're looking at the wife expression, you know, to see if they're on one accord, and so forth and so on.
Mhm.
But one of the things that did it for me was when I found out that those so-called people that call themselves Jews are Ashkenaz. You know, because I was a deep studier, uh, I knew automatically they couldn't be the people, you know, because if you go to the table of nations and you look at, you know, Noah's three sons, you know that Ashkenaz was a son who came through the line of Japheth. And we all know that those were not the chosen people. So, you know, my thinking is once I get one undeniable shred of evidence, you're not going to be able to talk me out of what I believe, because I don't need but that building block. But as I held on to that building block, I began to find out even more things, which allowed us to be able to properly defend why we believe what we believe, accept it as true and real.
And as a result of that, the church pretty much cleared out. They cleared out.
They cleared out.
And I mean, we was left to just really evaluate, what direction and where we were going with that. And
Now, I'd like to share something interesting too, because at that time, although I knew what the truth was, I've learned what the truth was, and I accepted it, I was still looking at things as like it was the enemy, causing the church to,
yes.
I mean, it's just amazing, man, how indoctrinated you can become. Because my father's a pastor as well, so I've always been in church. It's just that, when I at an early age, my parents separated, and I went with my mom, and she married a guy who was also a pastor, but he was very abusive. And looking back, I would have it no other way, because seeing him live double lives always put in my heart to question what any pastor say, what anything that's taught to me, to question it, to find out why I believe that. Why am I going to accept this as true and real? Because whatever you accept as true and real is going to govern your life. You'll be governed by it. So yeah.
Like I mentioned a few times, for me, I mentioned it to Sister E, how I did not realize what happens in churches, right? I didn't know all the secret sins that go on behind the scenes, and I'm sure you all seen that too, right? What were your reactions? I mean, was it like mine? It's like, well, okay, that means, okay, this is a walk with me and the Lord, because I can't trust man.
I think for me, I felt like the stepchild, much like what you were saying earlier. I felt like the stepchild in that it was so embedded in me because I grew up in it. I didn't feel like I could just walk away, because I felt like walking away would be walking away from God, and so I fused those two together. So I would have battles, sitting up there listening to him teach the word, but then really knowing how his life was outside, which always, it didn't make me completely walk away from God, or, but it made me question a lot of things, which to me helped to develop a study, of the word, to find out for myself. Because I didn't, like some people, they just all together walk away, and then they get into
other kind of
the ancestors and all this other stuff, which I believe still is to some degree deception. There's some truth in it, but it's deception to get you away from. And I think that's just the enemy's plan, is to always leave you in the dark.
Yeah, well, I stated that, the whole ancestor worship, voodoo, and all these things, I'm like, that's the same thing that caused us to go into slavery.
Absolutely. But I think because we've been treated as a nation and as a people like we have been treated, you want to identify with something other than what you're under, because this is not it. It's mistreatment, it's abuse. It's all kinds of things. So
yeah, they threw the baby out with the bathwater, right?
Absolutely. And so, go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, even doing study in Genesis with the creation of Babel, and really a lot of that comes from Nimrod and sun god worship. And I think they draw a lot of people into that because, they play on our melanated skin, our blackness. We was kings and queens, so forth and so on. And so for somebody that's not really versed in the word, they don't understand, like you said previously, that's something that was the main reason that caused, us to experience, from verse 16 all the way to 68 of Deuteronomy in terms of curses.
So you all still live in Dallas?
Yes, we do.
Mhm.
We still live in Dallas. We are preparing though to get out of here, and we're just standing in the boldness of the Lord, man, and just expecting Him, the Most High, to continue to prepare the way for us to get out, because he told us that we could, and that's what He wanted us to do, and so that's what we've been preparing to do. We didn't waste any time.
Mm-mm.
So do you all live in Dallas County or the surrounding areas? Because I used to live down there.
Um, we live in a place called North Richland Hills.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
maybe
What
Cool.
part are
10
you
minutes
from?
from Dallas, downtown Dallas.
Yeah. Yeah. I left right before COVID.
Okay, just in
Oh,
time.
I know. What part of
so,
Dallas
so,
were you
huh?
in?
Good. What's that?
What part of Dallas were you in?
Yeah. I lived in Carrollton.
Oh, okay.
Carrollton, okay, that's not far.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So now that you all looking to move and you're making plans to move, what's the steps you all have taken, and can you tell the people where you're planning to go?
Yes. Well, we started out, just kind of discussing a plan, on how to make this happen, because we have two children. We also have older children that are not living with us, family, and all of that. And so we had to really kind of begin to just think through how we were going to make this thing happen. So for us, when we're making huge moves like this, we're always acknowledging the Most High to show us the better way instead of just our way. So the first thing we decided was she was going to let her job go and stay home and homeschool the children, because they were trying to get.
I
Uh,
work for the school district,
she worked for the school district,
and
so go
they
ahead.
were trying to get us to come back, and I knew that it just wasn't safe. I knew it wasn't time, and I had peace with, because I used to homeschool before, prior to becoming a teacher at the school. So we just made the decision, this is what we're going to do, and so I resigned and been homeschooling my kids. And at this point, we still had no idea that we were going to move. We were just going to just try to work it out here. And we started preparing our bags and our
Oh yeah.
thing
See,
for the wilderness.
let me share, okay, so let me share this. So the Most High begin to deal with us regarding the time that we're living in, and this is leading up to how we decided we're leaving. And so I came up with three plans. I said, okay, so number one, we need to stock up on supplies. We need to get everything that we need right now, uh, in case something break out, like martial law, what have you, whatever. Okay. The second plan was we need to also prepare if we have to leave this home, and live out on land, or whatever we have to do, to survive. And then the third thing was we need to get out of here, period. And so in studying scripture, this is how we felt like we was being led. So to answer your question in terms of preparing, we just started, doing research, looking at certain areas um, over in the other continent, and looking at the president. What kind of person is he? How is he ruling? Looking at cost of living, looking at what it would take for us to make that move in terms of, are we bringing things? Okay, if we're bringing things, then how are we going to get those things from here to there? How much is that going to cost? What companies can we use that can accommodate us in those things? And so it was just a long line of things that we felt that we had to get together before we were comfortable with making that move forward. But those were some of the things, when am I going to let my job go?
And so we decided that we were not going to take anything with us. We were just going to put things out for sale, offer up. And the moment that we did that, everything just went.
Just sold.
So we're now, it just sold. So we're just now, the only thing we're waiting for now is our children's passports. And then we're just going to go. We're not worrying about anything. The Most High is leading us. We have peace with it. The only thing that we're going to take is just clothes, just a few items. But other than that, we're just excited. We felt like that child that you said you felt like, You know, for a long time when we would watch other people, because my cousin actually just went over, and he felt led. He and his wife went, and they felt led to go, and so they're there, and so
they're in the Gambia.
They're in the Gambia.
They've been there 2 months now.
Yeah.
So how do they like it?
Love it. I mean, they're always sending us pictures, and they actually have a channel as well called The Arrival. And
oh, that's them, The Arrival.
Yeah, that's my
Kenny.
wife. Kenny. Yeah.
Oh, cool. Tell him I watch him.
All right, awesome.
So does Kenny know he's an Israelite?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's who we communicate with a lot. Oh. He's the only one in my family, you know, that was really walking in the truth like that. So a lot of times I would call him and question certain things, and we would talk about it. And you know, so when I told him the word that was given to me, that I believe the Most High spoke to me, and during our research, you know, he was one of the ones that I kind of called, and we talked that through. And he was like, "Well, guess what? I'm going to Africa too." And I was like, "You are?" And he was like, "Yeah." So he ended up there.
Yeah, so but he had already had all of his stuff ready. By the time he told people, they had 2 weeks before
they were leaving.
It was time for them to leave.
And so he was waiting on the borders to open. You know, they by faith had their tickets, had everything ready to go, and you know, as soon as those borders opened, he was gone.
Can y'all tell him I'd like to have him on if he's willing?
Sure,
yes,
absolutely.
Okay. So what would you go ahead? I'm sorry.
No, I just wanted to point out as well, and this may be something for the listening audience to consider as well, because we've had many conversations about why are you leaving? Why, you know, because, you know, there's a little confusion with a lot of us in terms of when is it time to flee? We know it's going to, you know, we need to flee according to Matthew and Luke, but when is it time to flee and where do we flee? You know, and I think it's clear in the scripture, but one of his things was, you know, I don't need to know anything, but Babylon is going down.
Yeah.
You know, and so I don't want to be here. And then me, you know, when I hear things, I can hear revelation and get a revelation about the revelation. So the revelation that I got concerning that was, you know, not only is Babylon fallen, but in the scripture, the Bible says the other nations will mourn, meaning that the whole world won't be destroyed, but Babylon will be.
Yep.
And so those that are not in Babylon, I mean, I know some that are here are probably going to make it through, but we just decided we don't want to have to go through that, you know.
So some people, you know, they get upset because, you know, there's a scripture, you know, in Jeremiah 50:51 that calls for us to flee. But then there's the scriptures dealing with Isaiah 60, which says, you know, the ships of Tarshish, God gonna send all of them. We're gonna come out with great substance.
Right.
And so a lot of people say, well, I'm just waiting for God to deliver me. Right. Now, my philosophy is this, right? That if you have the means and the ability to go, and if it's not going to be a burden on you, then go, right? Because there is a scripture that says flee. If you don't have the means to go and ability to go, then you wait on the Most High, because he's going to make the way for us all to leave. So like for me, my mom is 80-something years old. I can't leave her, right? Even though my other family's here, I can't leave. And then my wife's her father, you know, he's ill, so we can't leave, right? We got to wait for God.
Right.
And so, you know, I think a lot of times, because God might tell one person, no, you need to wait, and tell another person it's okay for you to go, that you can't judge that person because God told them to leave.
Yes.
Absolutely. You know what? I totally agree with that. I believe the Most High deals with us according to our level of faith and according to what plan he has specifically for us.
Right.
You know, one of the scriptures, I don't know whether you can remember that scripture, that the Most High showed us about actually being taken out of this land and returned back to the land from which we were taken from.
It's
Jeremiah 29.
29. Okay, so now watch this. This I already was convinced, but this is what blew me away. Once we started connecting the dots, we're looking at Hidden Hebrews, because we watched the whole series of Hidden Hebrews. So we were sitting up in the bed one night, and I paused the TV. I said, "Did you hear what he just said?" He said, Sudana.
Or Sudan.
Sudan.
Whatever you said the name right first.
What is it?
Yeah, so you down.
So you done, right?
Mm-hmm.
So this was the same word about 2 weeks prior to us seeing that she woke me up at 3 o'clock in the morning saying the Most High spoke to her in her dream.
Mm-hmm.
This word. So, being the person that my wife is, she's a researcher. So she just started researching that word and figured out that the area where we're going was considered part of that area called So You Done. It's
the
like
land of the black, or land of the, what is it? The land of the black?
Negro land.
Yeah.
It was Negro land. And of course we had also been following Pastor Darby, listening to a lot of his messages and so forth. But I began to connect the dots, like when she said that she heard that word, and then we seen that, in the research that what's his name?
Benya Israel.
Yeah, Benya Israel.
Forgive me, I don't know his name.
Yeah, Benya Israel. Yeah.
It was just amazing because when we did the research, Gambia was one of the places
on the west.
Within. Yeah, it was Midwest all the way to the West Coast. And so for me, I was like, man, I don't need any more evidence. It's time for it to go. So I brought that up to say that he may be telling some, according to their circumstances, to stay here. Because ultimately, no matter where we go, if he don't save us, we won't be saved.
Right.
Exactly.
So,
and Benya Israel, he's like one of the few channels I listen to. I don't listen to everybody. And he does good historical research. And Dante Forson just recently had him on. And he does an excellent job. I like his work.
Yeah.
And
that's actually how I found your station. I was on Amazon researching and came across Dante, and I was like, oh, he has a book here. So I ordered the book, and then I came across you. I guess you guys y'all connected somehow.
Yeah, I've known Dante for years. We used to do a lot of ministry together.
So like you say,
so when it comes to let me ask you all this.
You there?
Come back. Yeah.
Okay.
Y'all hear me?
I can hear you now.
Okay, I hear you now. Say something. Okay, great.
Yeah.
So what do you all think of the 400-year prophecy?
What I think about the 400, I do, yes. What I personally think about the 400-year prophecy is just a regurgitation of what has already been done. I mean, if you go all the way back to Egypt, I mean, that's much more than 400 years, and I know that they say, from the time that we landed here, in the Americas, which I think was 1619 or something, and that 2019 ended the 400-year slavery time, or the time that we would be in bondage. I believe that there's some truth to it. I don't make a huge deal about it because we've been since Egypt under bondage and serving somebody. I just look at it like, now that we're waking up, it can't be the same because it's in line with the prophecy. So I would say I would be leaning more toward it is true, because I've never seen this many people around the world wake up at the same time.
Absolutely.
And for, really our people to be the buzz topic of CNN news, I mean, that's all you hear now at this point. And so I believe that this gospel is being preached all over the world, then the end shall surely come.
Yeah, recently, I don't know if y'all heard of Berean TV. Me and Sister E was on there, and I was debating a brother from the Urban Apologist by Mike Holloway, and we were debating the 400 years. And I showed this video that shows how the Egyptian captivity could not have been 400 years, could not have been 430 years, because the numbers don't add up, and how the issue we have is with the text, where in the Septuagint it says that Abraham sojourned in Canaan and Egypt for 430 years. So You know, when we look at the scriptures, if we prove that they weren't in ancient captivity for 430 years, then when did that 400-year prophecy of Genesis 15 happen? And so one of the things that you know, if you, I don't know how much of our prophecy stuff you all have seen, but you know, we predicted a lot of these things, right? We didn't predict COVID, but we predicted a lot of these things. And like your husband was saying, when you look at the cumulative prophetic insight, you know, or fulfillments of the awakening of a mass group of people called Negroes to being Israel, you know, it never happened before, and it's continuing to happen. That is not a coincidence. That is not man.
Right.
And when you look at the wars, the rumors of wars, the earthquakes, the pestilences, the locusts, all of these things that's happening at the time that we awoke, can't be coincidence.
I was going to say also, I think that, you know, the Most High has done this fairly in a short amount of time. I think the fame that this particular subject has gotten has just been between March and where we are right now. You know, now I know that a lot of people were waking up before then, but I'm talking about touching the hearts of movie stars, you know, football players, you know, Nick Cannon and others, you know, to be up under the harsh system that they're under, but still have enough courage to bring so much attention to this, you know, is the Most High's doing. So,
exactly.
So yeah, so I tend to believe that the 400 years was talking about this time from 1619 all the way up into this point, even though we dealt with slavery over time. You know, the waking up, that's undeniable.
Exactly.
You know, because it said that he would wipe our memories clean. He would make us forget.
Yep.
And allow us to dwell in a blind state. We would inherit lies, you know, and accept those lies. So, you know, for people to be waking up now and then actually making decisions like this, those that move from one continent to another continent is.
And that's the thing. Have any of us ever wanted or thought or entered in our minds to move to Africa?
No.
And I'm gonna tell you why we haven't. Because, you know, Esau has found every way that they could fight us as far as warfare. One of the things is propaganda. You know, for so many years they have showed us the bad areas of that continent. They've showed us and made us believe that that's not a place where we want to go. And then for some of us that actually study deeper, we realize that it was some of them people that said, "You're not our people. You know, take them. Don't take our sons. Take these people over to the Americas and let them be slaves." So for us to understand and to come to the realization that this whole hoax about, you know, where Jerusalem is versus where the real Jerusalem is, and all of these things, man, it just took an emotional toll on me. You know?
Yeah, it's interesting how deep the lies go, isn't it? Because you know, I remember in the beginning, I was like, did they know who we are? And then you find out, yes, they knew who they were taking, you know, and then we find out, oh, you know what? You know, they are at war with God. They are at war with us. And oh, and guess what? All the other nations are in conspiring together. Psalm 83.
Yeah.
You know, and like your husband said, you know, my initial reaction was excitement for who I was, but then it was anger.
Yeah.
You know, because I was lied to, manipulated, and all these things, right?
Yeah.
And
so, go ahead.
No, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, so I was going to ask, when it comes to moving back, you know, you have to get the passports for your children. Now, I was looking at the passport website because, you know, I've been trying to get my son's passport for 2 years now, but I couldn't do it because I was ill. But there was 932,000 people in America looking to get passports. Okay. And I'm like, what's the percentage of us, right? Because we already know the Israelites want to leave. So there's a good percentage of us in there too, who's
Right.
looking to leave. I would like to know those numbers.
That would be
I think it's a great percentage.
So with what you're seeing happening, and I know I wish they would really just let us all leave, but what you all are seeing happening, and your children, how old are they, and what have you all told them about moving to Africa? Because that's a big move for any children, right?
Right.
No, it is.
Well, our children could probably tell the story of our history better than we can. So they're ready. And it's amazing, because my daughter is 12 and 13, and my son is has he turned 10 yet? 9. And he's 9. But we started at an early age, once we came into the truth, teaching them every Sabbath. Because even though we were still in that system, we started aligning our lives to, honoring the Sabbath, adjusting our lives to obeying the commandments, doing whatever we could.
We don't do the pagan holidays. We don't do any of that anymore. And so they already have an understanding of, that part of it. Because for us, it's spiritual. It's not because we want to geographically go to, the place that we call home, but it's for us, it's a spiritual thing. And, when he led us in that direction, I seen one of your people say about fasting and prayer. Every one of the comments says something about fasting and prayer, and Yah will lead you. And that's the truth. What we had committed to do was every Friday night, we would fast Friday from sundown to Saturday, Sabbath once it's over. And the Lord began to just deal with us. And we would take that time for study, prayer, and fasting. So a lot of the decisions that we made were biblically based and being led by Yah and receiving scripture confirmation. So it wasn't like we just said, well, we're just going to go because this is where we're supposed to be. But this is something that Yah laid on our heart to do. And that's why I have a peace about it. Now, of course, the natural part of it, or the natural side, the emotional part of it, is our family is still here.
Yeah.
And while we
know both our mothers are still alive.
Right.
My mom is 75, up in age. Her mother is in her 70s. It's one of the things that I share with my wife. I said, I don't want to sound like I don't have any emotion, but Yah said he came with a sword in his hand, to turn the mother against the daughter, and and so forth and so on. And I'm not saying that we're turned against them, but I'm just saying they're very supportive. But what I'm saying is, when it comes to a decision, and I guess that's something about our family overall, no matter what level of understanding they have about it all, if we tell them the Most High said something, they already know it's kind of really no,
you can't do nothing if the Most High told you, right? You got to go do it.
I said, if you don't go before me, I don't even want to go.
Exactly.
I don't know that place like that. I just know that he said that it's okay,
right.
And and gave us a peace about it. So we're trusting him completely. I mean, this is the faith walk. Yeah. There is nothing that we know that there is an assignment for us. We know that there's something for us to do once we get there. Based on everything that he's placed in our hearts to do here, we know that that's something that we can do. Like with children, I love children. So I want to work with children. There's an enrichment program that he's placed in my heart to do for a long time. I work with women. So I know that he has placed something, and there is a reason that we are going ahead. And that if that's just to prepare the place for others to come, our family, friends, whatever that is, we're open for that,
Absolutely.
So when you all get to Gambia, what are your plans? Start a business or what?
Well, we have a heavy background in the arts. I have a couple records out in stores, and I didn't even get to this. But what I want to do, I won't even get deep into that, but I want to take those skills and teach them how to record, how to record music, how to engineer, those kinds of things. We also have some other business ideas that we want to do, because we understand we're going to have to generate some kind of income. One of the things that we decided to do as well is start a YouTube channel and document this journey, like how, in detail, what we did, how long did it take us, how much was it, all of those things. And so we already have maybe 3 episodes of that already recorded, but just didn't want to release it until we got out of here. We wanted to focus on getting out of here first. So there are a few things that we want to do, but it's all centered around, making a difference, bringing value to the continent in the state and city that we're going to be in.
Well, I want to let you all know the family behind you all, and Tail Ministries is behind you all, because I believe it's the call of for the Yah. And I know some people don't understand why you're moving ahead of the mass exodus. But as I always tell our listeners, be led of the Holy Spirit. And you all fasted, you all prayed about it, and he let you. And that desire, all of us have to leave, right? All of us just can't leave right now.
Right.
But the desire is there, So, do you all have any other comments or things you want to let the family know? And definitely have Kenny contact me.
I will. Do you have anything else?
No, but just thank you for the work that you're doing, and because you definitely played a part along with some of the others in us feeling comfortable. One of the most uncomfortable things is to hear y'all say something and then you don't have a blueprint, you don't have anything that you can look at to make you feel comfortable with making that move, and so forth and so on. So it's very encouraging to see, because most of this awakening we had to do by ourselves.
Yeah.
Coming out of a system, but not feeling totally comfortable with connecting, until we know enough to know who to connect to.
Absolutely.
Because, it's I don't want to get into that, but it's, a lot of our brothers and sisters are upset, which I completely understand. But the way that they are going about it is just, it's rough, man, and so we're trying to find a balance where we can connect with people who not only have the knowledge, but have the spirit dimension as well.
That's important.
And I'm not saying allow the enemy to play on our emotions and continue to do us like we've been done. But at the very core of Yah, I believe, is love. John says he's love, and so love can be displayed in a lot of ways. Love can be displayed like he's gonna display it when he come back to gather us and tear up the other nations. Love could be displayed in provision, all of those things. But just hearing you all, my point is hearing you all and some of the others that are out there and how you guys are rightly dividing the word and bringing. I don't know whether you all even realize how much confirmation you're bringing to a lot of people, not just us, but a lot of people that are praying for direction, who don't know what to do, and so that's why it's so important for these teachings to keep going on, because it's needed.
And we just want to encourage you to continue to do what you're doing, because it's almost like your show is a point of contact for those that are coming into the truth.
Right.
And for us, we watched a lot of people, and like he said, without going into detail, you have to be led by the Spirit of Yah, because if you're not, you can end up, with the ancestors, or you can end up, doing something outside of God, Yah's perfect will for us. So it's important that we stay prayerful. It's important that we fast and pray, and we ask for direction in this time, because this time we really need to be close. We really need to be close to him.
I did want to give one scripture for the listening audience, and that's Isaiah 33 and 6. And it says that knowledge and wisdom will be the stability, the strength, and the salvation of these times.
Yeah.
And so, in any decision that you're making, in any decision that you're making to move, and any decision you're making to connect with people, knowledge and wisdom is going to be your stability, is going to be your strength, and is going to be your salvation. So, what you do with that knowledge and wisdom is going to depend on how stable you are in these unstable times. It's going to depend on how strengthened you are. in these times where people are getting weak, and it's going to depend on, in a lot of cases, your salvation.
Yeah, one thing my brother and I always said, because initially the awakening happened with the people who are part of camps. And, they got the 12 tribe charts and all this stuff. But we said when the born again Israelite awakens, watch out.
Different.
Right?
Different.
Because we were like, they're going to shake up the world. And we're seeing that, right? Because the born again Israelites are awakening. And now you see that now it's like the awakening is like at a 4 times level than it was a few years ago.
Yeah.
And not only that, see, the born again Israelite understands walking in power by the Spirit, right? We understand that. Yeah. And we know that we can't do it by ourselves, right? So now, when people tell you, well, how come you're going now? Because the Spirit told me to go. Right. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. And so, I think a lot of people have to understand, like you all said, God deals with us as individuals and as nations, but just like he told Abraham, he's telling you all it's time to go. You gotta go out there, and you like, I don't know what to do. There's nothing out there. We gotta take a risk and walk on faith. Oh, you need faith.
I don't have anything written down that I can get puffed up with in knowledge and understanding. I just gotta flow with you. When that cloud, moves in the day and that pillar of fire moves at night, I gotta have discernment enough to know that that's you leading out of me, because I don't have anything to go by that's written. Mm-hmm. And that's what we definitely have to consider. We have to, get that knowledge, but
exactly,
connected to spirit as well.
And see, the thing is, we all are dealing with similar issues with the family, because the family hasn't fully awakened. They, like my family, they sort of know we Israel, right? But that realization hasn't hit. Mm-hmm. And some of them are doing very well in Babylon. So, it's like they ain't got no incentive to leave. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But we all sitting here and we watching this country, and we reading the word, and we're like, well, Babylon's falling, it's crumbling, and I don't want to be caught up in the rubble.
Yeah, that's so true. That's so true. One thing I want to say is one of the things that Yah spoke to me and said was not just, traveling geographically. He said, but you got to get Egypt out of you. You got to get Babylon out of you. Mm-hmm. And so that began for me, the inward journey as well, to cut myself off from things that I know would keep me bound here. Just detaching myself from the worldly thing. I mean, it started even with hair. Like, we so American.
Going natural?
Yeah, I'm going that. I've been doing that for the last couple of years. But all the stuff that we do that's Americanized, I just wanted to be free from all of that. You know what I'm saying? Because it's so you can get tied up just in that. You know what I'm saying? And so he took me on a journey. I mean, this is, like I said, it's not just a geographical thing. This is something that he's dealing with us. It's a heart thing.
Right, because what's going to happen is whenever that time comes where the mass exodus is supposed to happen, we don't want to forget that in the wilderness, he's going to purge out the rebels. Yeah. And so the rebels that are going to be purged out in the wilderness are going to be people that still have Egypt in them. Yeah. They're going to be the ones saying, Moses, why you take us out here? To die. We should have, at least our bellies would have been full in Egypt. Yes. They're going to think about all of the things that they looked at as sacrifices that they're making to come to the place that the Most High is telling them to come to. Mm-hmm. Instead of preparing now. Proverbs said, be like the ant who has no boss, who has no leader, but instinctively, is prepared for the winter in the summertime. Mm-hmm. And that's what we're doing. We're preparing. We don't know exactly when we're leaving, but we're preparing. We're doing everything within our own control and ability to get that done. And I'm not talking about small moves. I'm talking about we literally have no furniture in here. Mm-hmm. We don't have a washer and a dryer. I've let my job go. So we about to get out of here for real. We've stacked up money. We don't have all that we need, but we depending on y'all to get, as soon as the borders open, all we needed was his word, to save. So we know he's going to provide.
Well,
do something
Yeah.
that you can't do.
Yeah, don't worry about your family. Everybody about to wake up soon. That's my opinion. I think we're that close. Like I say, I'm not a prophet on anything. I just go by the spirit and what I see in the word. And I think things are about to change really soon. So whoever's asleep gonna wake up, because God says he's not gonna leave any of us behind, not one.
Yeah.
You know. So I want to thank y'all for coming on again, and family, please support them. And if you all can send me the link to your YouTube channel once you have everything up, I'll put it under this video and they can get access to it.
Okay.
And family, thanks for listening. We're going to continue to do this. I'm glad to have Israelites on here, to show that everyone who's moving back to the continent is not going into voodoo. Everybody who's going back to the continent, not going into ancestor worship. Some of them are servants of Yah. Some of them are Israelites. So we want to thank y'all for listening, family, and make sure you support them. Look up and lift up your head, Israel, for your redemption draweth nigh.